Hello everybody, welcome back to Seng Christian Church TSCC Live. Once again, we have Ben and Liz here today. Say hello to them.
Hi,
Hello.
Hi everyone.
Okay, a little bit of recap. These two young couples here last week, what they have shared. So remember they shared about their wedding banquet, about how they prepare their photo shoot for their weddings. So today will be the next part of the sharing about the next important wedding plan, which is the housing. So without any further delay, we would like to ask Ben. So while we are doing a selection of the housing, right, between the BTO, resales, and after that private condo, all this. So what is your consideration when you are doing this selection?
Consideration. Okay, so disclaimer again, we are also first time looking for house, first time looking at all these things. So we are not experts, but we are just sharing a bit of our experience so far in looking for house over the last maybe 1 year plus. Yeah, so initially when I was looking at houses, actually the first one that I considered was the condo. Not because we got money to spend, but it's because back then Liz was still not yet a PR. So when she's not a PR, then the only consideration that I can think of is actually go towards a condo route. Then we see how we can come back later on.
Yes.
But the condo, it was really very expensive. And both of us, the reserve is not there yet. And the monthly installment also quite high. And both of us got no CPF.
I see.
Yeah, so thank God that shortly after she already got her PR, then I can scrap the whole condo idea. So I can start looking at all the BTO and resale already.
So God's opened up a lot of options for you once you got a PR, correct?
Correct. So thank God, really thank God that we managed to get a PR. Then after that, we start looking at BTO. So we're very excited because everyone keep talking about BTO process, whatever thing, but finally it's our turn, so we get to do it.
Yeah.
Then we saw a unit that we really like, which is the Bishan. That time was the Bishan Regis.
Yeah.
Then we straight away we went to ballot for it, and we were so sure that we'll get it. Every time we drive past the Bishan, that plot, right, then we will just smile at each other, like, hey, our future place over there. Yeah, but then, so at the end of the day, right, when the results came out, we didn't get it. We didn't get anything. We're not even in the reserve number, not even in the waiting line.
So at that time, how is the balloting ratio? Is how many applicants to the units available?
I can't remember.
I
think
just know it was very, very oversubscribed.
No, it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
It's not as bad as there's one at Dakota, the previous one.
Yeah.
That one was
It
16 to
wasn't
1,
as bad
something
as
like that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's not so bad. But it's just that we just didn't get it. But we prayed about it, and I know this is like God's plan already, because after so long, so many years of being a Christian, you know that if you didn't get it, means it's not God's plan for you.
Yep.
So, okay, fine. Then we just decide to wait it out. Then we also start looking at resale, because we went through the balloting process, everything. We saw that it was very draggy. Somehow we didn't get it right, so we must wait for the next BTO launch. And we also don't know what exactly is the launch details, everything. So it's a lot of question mark, uncertainty, and we also have to wait a long time for it. So we started looking at resale as well.
I see.
Then, then for the BTO also, we are kind of borderline at the eligibility. So we also need to make a lot of appeals, that kind of thing. So it's not, even if we did get the unit, right, not sure we can get it also.
I see. So for sure, you as a young couple, as a first-timer to do a housing, to decide what to get is a lot of consideration. Beside budgeting, beside the cost, beside all the factors, especially one now with the COVID, I understand the BTO waiting time is longer, and more people are applying to it. For sure, the ratio is high. So the next question to Liz, right? So while Ben is doing all these selections, right? So I believe couples that actually selecting for their first house, they should have a lot of may have a lot of disagreement. So while during this process, right, is there any conflict that you encounter in this housing selection, and at the same time also how you come to consensus at the end of which house to choose and which location to choose?
So because this is quite a life-changing event for us, so obviously there was going to be conflicts. So at the beginning, when we were contemplating BTO. Obviously, there's no conflict because if BTO you get. If you don't get, it's not up to you.
And you all aim for B-Sun together.
Yeah, correct. And then only until when we started looking at resale, that is when there is a lot of factors that we have to take into account. And we actually looked at a lot of houses. I would say probably one every week or maybe 2 or 3 a week sometimes. And then that was when we started having some conflicts when we realized that, okay, there's a lot of houses, so how do we differentiate, like which one is the one for us? And as I said, like we saw so many, and then I was thinking like all of them look quite fine. Like I'm sure you see some of the photos, like the furnishing, some of them looks really nice. But then Ben was super picky, and then I couldn't really understand why Ben was super picky. And that was when we started to like share like more on our thoughts and then to kind of understand where each of us are coming from. Because from my perspective, I'm like, they're okay, what? And then I thought, okay, because for me, it's important that I want it to be near public transport. I want it to be convenient with all the food places, like maybe near a school, near a mall, like everything's easy for us. And then I saw a few of those that tick those boxes, and I didn't really understand why Ben wasn't okay with those. And that was when I realized that, okay, actually he got a lot of other considerations that actually took into account my considerations, which I never tell him. It's like my implied consideration, and I can let Ben like elaborate more on that.
So basically, because I was very picky about some of the nitty-gritty details, like how high the block is, what's the facing, that kind of thing, which actually she never really think about it. Then so one day she asking me, because we saw quite a few, so she got a bit frustrated and like, hey, why you don't just, some of the houses we see not bad, why don't you just consider it? So I tell her, I say that, you know, there's a lot of things that we need to think about, like if it's a low floor, are you happy or not?
No.
Then she said no. I said, if let's say very near, like see opposite is face someone else's living room, are you happy or not?
Don't want.
No, everything don't want. But all these things you also never say. So it's like...
Yeah, then my response is like, this kind of thing need to say one. Not implied one.
So you maybe can list out all these things, all the checklist now.
Yeah, correct. So girls, right, like even though you think that it's not important, you should tell your other half. Like unless like it's something that you would not consider. But because for me, I really did not consider, because when Ben vetted the properties, he already took all those into consideration. That's why I never saw one which I thought was like not like under my expectation.
Because like I also consider other things, like for example, if next time, not say that we are looking for resale value or whichever, but if let's say I want to have the option of selling it next time, or what kind of areas there's potential in selling, what kind of potential development, future plans, is it near my parents or not, proximity wise to other things, facilities, even to church, all that. So all these are a lot of consideration that is not really pertaining the exact house itself, but it's still very important things that will affect our lifestyle.
It's true. For choosing a new houses, right? All the factors actually count. Even the minor things, even which floor. In fact, you were talking about how high is the floor. So how you define, consider 5th floor is high or low. So all kind of references, and it's good for young couples out there is to put up everything on the table. After that is to every single factors you go through. So maybe along the way you even find more things for sure. So once finally it's good to hear that you have consensus. You're straight onto your agreement to select your location and your resale flat. So the next important thing will be after you're selected, you will be thinking of the renovation, which is another big part of it, where the costing all come in already. So for bands, maybe you can share what are the considerations when you start to consider what kind of renovation you want to do, also what kind of ID or contractor you want to use.
Yeah, okay, so basically if all of us have been following the news, right, we know that currently the property market is very hot. It's really at a peak compared to the last time in 2013. So with no choice, so sometimes when it's time for you to get the house, it happens to be the high, then you just have to bite the bullet and get it at a high. But now with the COVID, right, on top of the high housing prices, we also have to look at the high rental costs because of the shortage in labor and the raw material costs increasing. And in fact, not only that, right, if you look at the appliances, because of the all your semiconductor chip shortage, everything, right? So all the appliances are also going up.
Yes.
So all these costs have to be factored in. Yeah. So when we look at reno, right, naturally I already considered using Jason as my ID because he's basically my cousin and he designed my current house as well.
Yes.
So we kind of already know the quality and the standard that is there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also did some due diligence. So we went to see what's kind of the market rate that generally renovation costs. Yeah. So we actually had a meeting with maybe 6-7 other IDs. 6-7 other IDs, and we just briefly share with them what are we looking for, what kind of reno we want, but we're not very sure yet. But without knowing what we exactly want and what kind of material that is good for us or what, right, this ID, they can already give us a quote. And they also know that they're competing with maybe 5-6 other IDs. So everyone is just giving us who can give us the lowest quote, which I feel that it doesn't matter whether it's a low quote or not, but it's not an accurate quote. Because it never factored in a lot of things, even other things like wiring, what else?
Soft closing.
Those like maybe toiletry, the fittings, all these things.
So they'll give you the bare minimum of what you ask for, but they draw out something that looks very high end.
I see.
And then if you want to have such a standard, then they'll say, oh, actually all these need to top up a lot.
Need to add.
I see.
Yeah, so actually as a financial advisor, I know that in the market that's saturated, right, how we actually get a good advisor is how do you meet whether it's by word of mouth, someone that you know personally, you can vet their character, or maybe it's a word of mouth from a friend that you trust. Yes. So I think same goes for the renovation, the ID, right? Nowadays, there's a lot of stories on contractors running away or renovation do halfway, then leave it hanging. So we just want to go with someone that we can trust, someone that we can be open and talk freely about. So for Justin wise, we know that some of the things are more expensive, but we know that he gives us the quality one first. So that is probably somewhere near the high already. Then we will just compromise from there, like which one, if it's too expensive, how do we cut down, what can we compromise? So we're actually going downwards instead of keep having surprise costs going upwards.
I see. It's true. Yeah. So for renovation, right, for sure, in terms of cost is not just one factor. And then all the contractor out there or the ID, right, they will give you all the best, the so-called presentation, but the end result is actually what that counts. So it's good to go for those trustworthy contractor that you know. At least you see the end result. Okay, so in this matter, right, I'm sure you through all this, then you will have decided in your mind for Ben what kind of colors, what kind of wording, flooring, material to use. So in here, right, at least how will you influence Ben's decision? I'm sure maybe you have your own preference. So how do you convince him that you accept your idea if Ben already decided?
Actually, it was quite an easy process for us because I think we do share the similar styles and color schemes. But before that, my main concern was that, like, if you have been to Ben's house, right, and you think it looks very nice, it's because that is basically Ben's style, because he chose most of the things inside. So I didn't want the exact same house, but like replicated into our own house.
So you want Ben's plus Lee's house?
Yeah, correct. I want a balanced house. Yeah, but otherwise, besides that, I think what I brought to the table was maybe the practical aspect in terms of things that he's not so familiar with. For example, like the kitchen and like the laundry area and all that. So because I like to cook, and also like I spent some time with my parents like renovating our Penang place, and I understand from my mom like certain considerations to take into account when it comes to a kitchen. So that is actually very important for us because it's going to be a place that we need to use quite often. And like so basically I just sat down like what should be like my expectation, what should not be, and then like certain things that we need to consider, like different types of like washing machines, all that stuff. Like that is where I bring my knowledge in Yeah, but otherwise than that, like I think we've been pretty good so far. But I guess it's very fair to say we have very expensive tastes. So we agree on a lot of things, but the thing is our wallets don't agree.
So it's not say it's expensive taste. It's more like
it's a very long-term solution.
It's just very basic, but the basic thing that we like is expensive. So sometimes we look at some stuff that we like already, right?
Yes,
okay, we never mind. We invest more in this one, but then we budget on other things. Then when you go and dive deep into other things, right, some simple things, even microwave or right, then you're like, oh, this one, but the cheap one not nice, you know. So end up you just inch a bit higher. Actually $10+ more. Whatever thing. You see, then you start to negotiate with yourself.
Yeah, and then we will say, never mind, this one, if we get this one, then the next thing we will buy the cheaper one. Then after that we look at it, it's like, we just don't like the cheaper one. And then somehow we will just keep pushing and pushing to see like what other things we can compromise on.
Here maybe I can contribute with a bit of tips here, because you see appliances, it look nice, but for me, right, as more towards the electronics guys, I will see more on the spec, energy saving, the lifespan of the brand. Maybe you buy a cheap one, it lasts 2 years. But you buy a good one, a good energy saving, it maybe lasts 10 years, you save more. So it's not just only the look that actually counts.
Yeah, those are some of the things we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
This one we spend more, can last 10 years.
Can last longer, it's okay.
Last time I remember I bought a good TV, I was sitting there for 3 months just to watch at the same TV before I decide.
Yeah, but we justify it by how I justify is like some people, they spend on branded clothes, branded bags, all that kind of thing because it means something to them.
Yep.
So for me, I don't do all that kind of stuff. I wear Uniqlo wardrobe, but I think a reno is a one. It's something that it's not an investment. It doesn't appreciate. It doesn't do anything. In fact, it depreciates. But I feel that if it's something that I like and it's something that I want, then it's just spending for one. No?
I see.
You just have to pay more if you want it.
Yeah. So we know that actually, as a Christian here, we know God has His plan. So sometimes it's like you cannot get a BTO. Each time you try your dream home. So in fact, God has a better plan for both of you. So finally, you got your resale flat that actually you want. Then the location, I understand also, is quite nearer to your parents, right? Okay.
Yeah,
so this kind of thing is you don't be worried about it. So anything we leave everything to God. So there's a plan for us. So just trust Him. So before we end this session here, maybe for Liz and Ben, right? Maybe you can share a takeaway or most important tips you think that actually for our audience out there. I believe there's a lot of young couples out there also currently facing a lot of challenges while doing their selection of housing, deciding where to hold their weddings, location, etc. Okay.
Yeah, so I think there's one tip that we can share regarding the reno stuff, because our house and our wedding actually all is in the early part of the year, February.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know that when it comes to sales, right, on appliances, furniture, all these things, usually the shops will launch the sales at the end of the year and not at the start of the year. So now, actually, in the last few months or so, we have already been looking at appliances, shopping for all these things, even though the house not even ready yet, reno not even ready yet, but we already start looking at all these things because nowadays, if you can secure during the sale, right, and let's say the shop, they can hold it for you. They can hold it for you without any extra cost. Warranty doesn't even start yet. Then you just pay them a deposit only just to secure the price that you can get now. It's better. So for example, I was sharing with my friends, right, nowadays, don't buy stocks, don't buy all these things already, just buy fridge. Because due to the chip shortage, the fridge actually every 2 weeks increased by a few $100s.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it was very surprising because I went back to the shop, they quote me the price, say, last time you tell me this price, because we record, every time we go in, we record the price. And then it's the same guy some more.
He tried to blame his colleague. Then we were like, no, it was you that told us.
I see. Actually, you can get a good bargain because now we know that sales outside is also difficult. And then people tend not to change things now. Those are already existing people. So, I mean, those have already appliances. So you can get a good bargain for sure. For sure, the shortage of chip is true. So it will be going on for a while, for sure. Okay, that's good. Okay, anything else to share before we... Okay, if not, thank you very much for the time from Liz and Ben to share with us on their wedding plan and the housing tips on the renovations and how they come out to select this, get their current house. Okay, so stay tuned. Next week, we will have our invited guest, Wan Yi. We're going to share with us about her interest in bakery. So stay tuned with us and see you all next week again at the same time, 1:30 p.m. in TSCC Live. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.